What up and welcome. Golden Era Podcast. 9 games in, and we are recording this just after the first eighth of the regular season here in the 2033-34 NBA campaign in the books. The Golden State Warriors off to a good start, 6-3, but some surprises around the league, which we'll get to, but let's start over there in the Bay. Golden State, we said it, 6-3, but who have they really played, right? Their 3 losses are against the Pacers, the Bucks, and Las Vegas. 2 of those 3 teams are over 500, so when they go up against good teams, so far, the results have been less than stellar. Meanwhile, there's 6 wins against the Sixers, the Sonics, the Clippers, and the Kings. Only the Kings are sitting over 500, while the Sixers and Clippers are expected to be among the worst in the league. Look, their stars are their stars, right? Deontay Dixon, he's taken a minor step back, but he's still doing exactly what you expect. Javon Roll is a 2-time NBA MVP. Jonathan Kuminga, for nearly a decade, was the number 1 forward in the league. He's since probably now 3rd or 4th. Those guys are doing exactly what you expect, but their bench has been about as bad as it can be. Keon Granger shooting sub 30% from deep. This is a guy that many expected, and it's part of the reason they moved on from Shane Ruffin, was because you could slot Keon Granger in at the 3, or the 2 rather, next to Deontay Dixon, Jonathan Kuminga, and Javon Roll, all of whom are 40% three-point shooters. That's your safety valve. If you want to leave him open, he's going to make you pay. He has not. He's shooting sub 30%. He had an atrocious opening night game against the Pacers, going 0 for 6, which has really tanked his three-point shooting numbers. But he's not the only one. Jaheim Briggs is a guy that they've tinkered with in the starting rotation in years past. He entered the league as a playmaking, athletic guy. The Warriors were actually able to get him to be on low volume, a 40% three-point shooter. He's not. He's also down below sub 30. And then Jalen House has been good, but as a rookie, he's getting limited minutes. Look, we knew this was going to be a season where the Warriors would be trying to develop young players. But in actuality, it has seriously handicapped this team because they don't have another person they can turn to. Last season, you could turn to Shane Ruffin to get you 15 to 17 points a game, to alleviate the pressure. You could always have, at any point in time, 2 All-Stars on the floor. That's simply not the case anymore. You're seeing the minutes where Deontay Dixon, as the Warriors have traditionally liked to keep, Javon Roll and Jonathan Kuminga paired together. They've seen that be the most successful group. Deontay Dixon typically runs solo, and he's doing it now with a seriously lacking supporting staff. You're not getting a lot of scoring. Terry Edwards has not been the type of backup point guard that I'm sure the Warriors had expected of him. I trust their big 3 to carry him. There's still not a better big 3 group in the NBA. Not in Sacramento, not in Phoenix, not in LA or OKC, Indy or Chicago. But their players from 4 to the bottom of the roster are simply not title contender worthy. They're missing Shane Ruffin. They're missing the switchability and the defense and the playmaking that Alfonso Harrell brought. How do they remedy it? I could see them making a swing, try to package some future assets to try to get somebody that's maybe a fringe all-star like Shane Ruffin, but the problem is they don't have the salaries to send out to bring in someone who would actually make a serious difference. This could be a group in Golden State that is just hoping their stars stay healthy for the entire season. All right, next to Brooklyn, what deal did the Nets make with the Devil to get into the playoffs 2 years ago, right? You go back, game 82, they're trying to get the 8 seed. They're against Boston, and down goes Louis Morgan, down goes Brighton Reed with ankle injuries. They end up winning in overtime thanks to 43 points from Sean Matthews. They then upset the Cavs in the first round behind Matthews and Memphis Reed. Then last season, right, they go out and the Nets then on game 82, lose Rashawn Matthews to an ankle injury of his own, and then the Nets go on to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, albeit with some injury help of their own as Jalen Justice goes down. But now, early in the season, they're already without Louis Morgan, and they're going to be without Memphis Reed. Those are their probably 4th and 5th best players on this roster. This is a team that has not been able to avoid the rumors, the speculation about a potential deal. Should they move one of Brighton Reed, Rashawn Matthews, or Louis Morgan to try to mix it up in some capacity? It seems as if Brighton Reed is not going anywhere. I think it's safe to say Brighton Reed is staying exactly there. But this is beginning to be a real question mark, and the success that, if they have any, and what they've had already, they've been able to basically see what this roster looks like with various pairings. With a Louis Morgan and Brighton Reed only group, that's an Eastern Conference Finals contender. With a Rashawn Matthews only group, that's a first round exit. What do we now see from Brighton Reed and Rashawn Matthews? If they make a push, could you see Louis Morgan being dealt? The problem is I don't know who's available, right? Jason Sanders, they made a huge push for, just like half the teams in the league. They didn't get him. And the other popular names probably aren't breaking free, right? Dwayne Qualls, who has repeatedly said he wants to stay in Milwaukee, but he's not going anywhere now that they've got the Luka Doncic in tow and they're playing decent basketball. Amari Swift is probably not going anywhere, and the Celtics aren't going to want to move him because he just is entering about to be that big contract he just signed. Why is he leaving? Jalen Justice, he's not going anywhere. Those are the teams that you would look at and say maybe. The rest of the NBA, there's not a bad team with a superstar that could pop free. And there's probably not a contender right now that feels as if trading away their star to bring in, let's just use Louis Morgan as an example, doesn't change things. Maybe you could move Rashawn Matthews. You're probably not moving Brighton Reed, but it feels as if Brooklyn cannot escape the constant rumors that surround this team. And I think these next 4 to 6 weeks are going to tell us a lot if those rumors, if those whispers, if those questions should be true. And then our last team, Indiana. I mean, geez, crow. We thought this team would be maybe decent to start the season. They've been phenomenal. Opening night was not a one-hit wonder, where the Pacers were phenomenal behind it. A great game from Nico Harrington. Their offense looks free. McCoy has been unleashed, much like Tobias Bell in Oklahoma City. CJ McCoy has been as good as he has looked his entire career. This guy, number 5 overall pick handful of years ago, entered with the hype of he could be an Allen Iverson type offensive piece. He's got major defensive limitations. And when you paired him with Tobias Bell, that backcourt defensively was atrocious. This team is rebuilt offensively and rebuilt defensively. Nico Harrington averaging 22 plus. This is a guy that was drafted by Charlotte. He was booted out the door within 2 seasons. Bounced around the league and was basically the perpetual Jeff Green reincarnated. You liked what he brought to the table. You liked the prospect of him. But when he actually showed up, it just never panned out. Not anymore. Nico Harrington has been phenomenal. Ibrahim Mobley, he's back in the role where he's meant to be. When he was with Golden State, who took him number 2 overall, he was best served as the number 2, number 3 guy in that pecking order, behind at the time Steph Curry, later on Javon Roll, Jonathan Kuminga. Now that he's back behind somebody else, like he was in Oklahoma City behind Cade Cunningham, he's been his best version. He's back to doing that. He's up shooting above 44% from deep, a huge leap or rebound rather from his 35% season a year ago. And then Jace Redding at the 3. Redding has returned to all-star form. I think people kind of forget. 3 seasons ago, Jace Redding was a top guy. He's now averaging 21, 7, and 4, back to the type of skill set that many people expected from him. They're without Caden Dickerson, but this is a team right now in Indiana. They roll 9 deep. All but Corey Wilson, who's averaging 12.6 boards per game per 36 minutes, is a 40% three-point shooter. No other team in the league can boast 8 players on their roster that can all shoot above 40%. The Pacers can. I don't think this is a mirage. I don't think this is small sample size. I think the Pacers are legitimate. CJ McCoy is probably an early MVP favorite, or at least contender with Javon Stokes and Tobias Bell. The Pacers are dangerous. And if the Eastern Conference doesn't look quick, they could be running away with this thing before we know it.